and a new stove if they don't have a stove.
And is it that the people just they create and put up their own stories, or you help them to tell and formulate their stories?
Yeah, we help them. We these are folks who are all living, below the poverty level and really need a second chance. And so we're there to help tell their story for them, and then we promote through varying areas from our newsletter, through social media, and then we're able to get their stories out there, throw down a list of all the things that they need, and people then can donate anything from, $1 to, $1 million if they wanted to.
Wow, that is so. Basically, you're looking at people who have a need, and you're using your skills as an artist and an entrepreneur to help them tell their story in such a way that they can find the resources they need, and that other people can find and be inspired in how they can help them.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you go on and you want to donate $5 to this particular family because you're really, you're connected to their particular cause that they, are discussing in their film. You can donate $5 and you can buy them, you could add to the cause of buying them a new stove. And then, say 50 people donate $5, and you end up with, whatever that ends up costing. As a group, thank you. As a group, you guys all have contributed to that, and then we are sort of the middleman where we go and we'll take those funds, 100% of them. We don't take any administrative costs, and we take that, and then we go buy that stove for that family and have it delivered to them.
Oh, that is awesome. That is so cool. So basically, you're making it easy for people to give. You're making it simple for people to contribute to other people.
Yep.
All right. Now, what moves you? Because obviously, in order to have a foundation, your business must be reasonably successful. So why do you give? Why do you feel like it's important to you to give?
Yeah. I think it's been instilled in me, growing up. We as a family, I was an only child, and so. And I kind of had a little bit of a rough going about, so to speak. My mom passed away when I was 10, and my father had rheumatoid arthritis, and so I kind of cared for him for the most part through my teenage years. And then he actually passed away when I was 25, and so I've kind of had this interesting perspective at a young age to be sort of alone, and it just made me really want to make a difference in the world, do something. Life's really short, so why not?
It's interesting because I definitely, first, I'm sorry to hear about your parents. And I think that, when people have tragedy in their lives, we've all experienced tragedies. And sometimes it pushes people into a negative space, and we feel sorry for ourselves, or we feel angry at the world. And for some people, it seems to open themselves up to other ways of seeing and understanding the world. And I think that is really fascinating, that you really took, your life experience and some things that were difficult by any measure and use them to motivate you to help other people. I think, for example, about what's happening in Haiti right now, whereby we've had this huge tragedy and people are now giving of themselves to try to make a better difference. What you've done, though, is profound in that you've actually you're not giving because of a given instance or a given occurrence. You've made giving a part of your daily life. And I'm wondering how, for those who are listening to this show and are saying I'm not an activist. I'm a working person, I'm a working mother, or I'm a working dad. I had my first day calling, I had a truck driver call me. I had an entrepreneur call me. I had a programmer call me. All these different people. What the average person who's listening to you and who's just day to day trying to live their lives, what would you say they can do to make giving a part of those lives, not something separate that they do, but integral in the way it is for you?
Sure. Well, it's bigger than money. It can be as simple as giving your time. And maybe that's your kids. I mean, maybe, step away from your job for a little bit and focus on your family, or step outside of that and go volunteer somewhere, and it doesn't have to be around the holidays. That's the other thing. I think people get in the sort of giving mode when it's makes the most sense when people are talking about it. But all year long, it's really easy to do if you just kind of make it part of your life. I mean, a lot of people use the church as a way to give, whether it's a few bucks at the collection plate or a way to volunteer. That's always a great opportunity for people. I do a lot of mentoring as well, and I feel like for me, the reason that I've been as successful as I've been in the last 10 years of my business is because I've had amazing mentors in my life who've really kind of shown me and been there anytime a question's come up. And so it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a really small thing, and that makes all the difference.
So little things can make a big difference in the lives of others. And basically, what do you think that people gain from giving? Like, what does it do for you when you see that you've made a difference in somebody else's life? And I'm curious, well, first that, and then I want to ask you a related question. But what does it make you feel? What can people expect if I'm listening to the show right now? And you're telling me that I should volunteer, I should give through my church or be a part of something that helps. What do I get out of it? What do you get out of it, Dawn?
Well, I love just knowing that I've contributed to somebody else's, positive, whatever it may be, whether it's I've contributed to their life in some positive way, that it's affecting them to then make a difference. Everything happens for a reason, and I feel very strongly that it's contagious. When you give to somebody, they take that, internalize that, and then do it for somebody else. Yeah. And I'm a huge believer in that. And so I love, however you want to define it, volunteering, mentoring, giving, whatever it is, I love it because I can see it's making a difference in other people's lives, and it makes me feel great.
Nice.
It makes me happy.
Well, now your company is called Fire Belly Design, and I love that title because I feel like, I used to give a talk when I just got out of college to other college students called Killing Cool. It was all about how everybody wants to be cool. Everyone wants to be cool. I was like, no, I want to get rid of cool. I want to be hot. I want to be a fire with a light within me that motivates me to do something, to be somebody in this world. So when I hear a name that says Fire Belly Design, that's inspiring on its face. What does that mean to you, and why did you pick that name?
Well, I always wanted to have a zine when I was in college that was going to talk about politics and culture and just get, your voice heard. And so I wanted to call it Fire Belly back then. And for one thing or another, it just never happened. And when I decided to kind of go out on my own, I thought that Fire Belly was the perfect name because it really said a lot about who we are as a company. And the idea that we were going to be Dawn Hancock and Associates or some, name, it just didn't fit. It wasn't who we were. It wasn't who I was. And the whole idea behind Fire Belly is that we're doing work for people who we think are making a difference in the world. And so that can be a non-for-profit, or it could be, like you called them, a mega corporation, which we don't do a whole lot of in the mega corporations. But we do a fair share.
Hey,
here
they
and
need
there.
fire in their bellies too. Absolutely.
They absolutely do. You're not even kidding.
Well, you mentioned politics and culture, and those are things that I personally love. And I want to actually, if you don't mind, take you on a little journey with me as we experience some of our people with us. Can we talk about a couple of things together?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm looking here on my computer. I try to stay connected while we speak, and I'm having a comment coming in from two people. One person, We Do Media. We Do Media 1 wants to say that you must hear me on this. We need a music awards by artists. Derrick, would you be willing to host an indie music award for indie artists like you? First of all, We Do Media, sign me up. I'm on board. Dawn, I think it's really interesting, this idea of independent artistry, because there was a time when, in order to be a successful artist, you had to have a patron. For me as a musician, you had to have a record label that would basically help you to do whatever it is you were going to do. It was required. And now I think people are able to do so much more independently. And I'm wondering, for you, did you start within a large company? Like, how did you get to the point where you felt that you could be an artist and an entrepreneur independently?
I kind of went in blindly, to be totally honest. Had I realized what was involved in running a business, I probably would have been scared out of my mind. But I just figured, what have I got to lose? I'll go for it. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go find another job or figure something else out. But I did work for, when I graduated, I had worked for a small design studio, and then I worked for a kind of a larger company, but neither one of them were very inspiring. And the work itself was just, I just never felt really good about it. And so I'd go home and I'd work on volunteer projects for non-for-profits, and that's what I really got juiced about. That was exciting to me.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's totally how I got started, was working with a lot of non-for-profits, and I still do. In fact, we do so much work with the non-profits that we decided we wanted to give, like, we've been doing this for 7 years now, where we give an entire year of our work away for free to one non-for-profit. So it's pretty awesome.
Wow. And how do you balance your time? One of our peeps on Ustream is asking, Madison99, is this your full-time job? Like, are you doing most of your time towards the business, towards the foundation? How do you strike a balance?
Sure. Well, I have a staff. I have 5 people who work for me on the Firebelly Corporation side of things,
okay.
Firebelly Design side. And then I have one person who works for me who just works specifically on Reason to Give. And so far, we're all good. Everything's working out great. The foundation is definitely a struggle for me personally to balance my time between the two. Partially because of the corporation is what pays for the foundation, so I'm,
Gotcha.
I got to focus a little bit. But,
of course.
But that said, this past year was unbelievable, just purely because the girl who's in there is phenomenal. She came through us through Public Allies, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with those guys or not, but it's an amazing organization that places people who are interested in working in the nonprofit world into groups and helps pay for their expenses and stuff.
So you got crew helping you to basically change the world through business,
Absolutely.
through artistry, and through your foundation. Dawn, it is an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And where can people see some of your work and learn more about it?
Sure. Well, there's firebellydesign.com is where the design studio's at, and then reasontogive.com is where our program Reason to Give is at. And we've got all sorts of other things, Camp Firebelly, which is a 10-day thing that we do, and all kinds of other things. I'm on Twitter at Firebelly Design, as well as Facebook at Firebelly Design as well.
There you got it, y'all. All my tweets, Firebelly Design. Add at Firebelly Design. That's belly with 2 L's. Dawn Hancock, thank you so much for joining and inspiring us. And hopefully we'll get to talk again.
Friends, thank you.
Right. Cheers. Yo, so we are coming to the close of this week's live broadcast, which, as you already know, because we explained, is not the end of the experience, because it goes down 24/7. So I know after this, I'm going to hear from a bunch of you. Today, I didn't say anything about who was wifeable or not, so I'm hopefully not going to catch a lot of drama on that. I did talk about Taylor Swift. I see the drama coming in already. Shadow Gunner 101 says, Derrick, are you one of them hosts that bad talk other people? Hell yeah, I talk about puppies. I talk about puppies all day. Who likes puppies and who wants cookies? Nah, I eat celery raw. I don't eat celery raw. Basically, look, I don't eat celery raw, and I don't hate puppies, and I don't hate Taylor Swift. I'm telling you, we love Taylor Swift. All I'm saying is that we need to give the Grammy to the person who had the best album. And I didn't think she had the best album. I'm a host that keeps it real with you. And when we come back, I am going to give you some real thoughts about what's going on in the country, and specifically about someone who seems to have found a little fire in their belly, President Obama. You're listening to the Derrick Ashong Experience on Oprah Radio, Sirius 195, XM 156. We'll be right back after the break.
Woohoo!
getting out of your head.
This is Oprah Radio.
You are listening to the Derrick Ashong Experience on Oprah Radio and streaming on oprahradio.com. Here's Derrick Ashong.
All right, y'all. So we're winding down. We only have a couple minutes left, and I want to talk about a few things. One of which, first of all, I got to say, you guys are serving it up on Facebook. I see the folks are telling me about this Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Nobody wanted to call and say it in person, but on the web, they don't care. Jen Young says, I probably served in the Army for 4 years. My best friend through the whole thing was gay, and he was a wonderful soldier, better than me. He'd be the first one I want on my side during combat. It's heavy duty. Margarita Acevedo Fiducia says, completely disagree with the policy. That's it. Plows. Yeah, no explanation. Nada. All right, y'all. Well, that's heavy duty. I got to say, though, that this week I was listening to the president give a couple of speeches, and we don't have time to really give you a clip of one of them, but he was seeming to be a little bit more gully about things. I mean, he was looking a little muscular up there, rhetorically. And it seemed like he's actually going to put out ideas and challenge people to adhere to them. Now, for those who were here earlier, we did have a chance to talk with David Walker, who's a former U.S. Comptroller General. He's also the former head of the General Accountability Office and basically the government's lead accountant. And he said that there are some problems with some of these policies, and we need to be holding our president to account. We're not going to diss. We're not saying that Obama is bad because of the deficit, because if we keep it real, David Walker told us that Bush doubled it, went from a surplus to a massive deficit, which Obama inherited. But we can't allow the president to let that run wild either. Now, I'm not going to keep finishing about this budget stuff. As I always do, I like to give you a little bit of artistry to send you home with. And as I was mentioning earlier today, I think it's important to be able to talk to people about different issues from different perspectives and really dive in to see what we collectively can find as truth and to be able to hear across the distance. And I try to explain to you how I look at things politically, but also socially and culturally. And I think that it's important for us to try to seek understanding between us, both societally and individually. So I decided I was going to do one thing, but I decided this morning to flip it. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. And I'm going to give you a poem that is simply called Seek. And it says, what would it take for you to seek me? For you to look beyond, beneath, and between the song in search of soul unsurrendered? What would it take for me to one day wake and find you asleep deep within, in that hallowed place where we belong? That space from whence I'm strong. I want to know you, but I want you to want to know me too. I want to see you sneaking and peeking, hustling and rustling around past the image, the public faces, the various and sundry rumors laced with laces I have never worn, from shoes too neat to fit my wild Afro-Atlantic feet. I want to see you seek a darker way to a brighter day, trotting terrified through a field of ancestral screams that define all I see long before I've been seen. See you peering past the screen in my black and blue jeans, making moves towards my genetically modified moods. Know what I mean? For love is truly shown nearest those places where the seeds of me were sown, that I might one day grow home with the wanting to be known and a love that brings the weak to their feet. That's what I want for you to seek. This is the Derrick Ashong Experience, live on Oprah Radio. Peace. We'll see you next week.